Welcome to Life Workshop, where we discuss the forgotten basics. The topic of this episode is Don't Make It My Identity. As usual again, for the recent episodes, your most favorite co-host is...
I'm back.
Dyke.
And I'm here because Mo is trying to force his identity on me.
And of course, your most favorite host, Mo. So don't make it my identity. Where am I going with this thing? Maybe I should start with this story. I immigrated to Canada in 1997. I was very, very young. Now I'm just young.
So you immigrated when you were 37?
We will talk later.
Okay.
And then after a month and a half in Toronto, then I moved to Saskatoon. And I started working at Royal University Hospital in Saskatoon. But shortly after, they found out that I was really good. So they ended my contract. 2 months early.
It was so good that they wanted you to go. Okay.
Then I said, screw you guys, So I got lucky. I got upgraded and I moved to Regina. For those who don't know.
One upgrade. That sounds like a really good one.
As you have said it before, Regina is the center of the earth. You don't believe me? Go measure it. Saskatoon, boo.
Oh, you're going to start something. Okay.
So anyway, when I came to Canada, to Regina, it was in 98 by this time. There were very few immigrants here. And then, and I wanted obviously to integrate into the society. I was working as a physical therapist at one of the clinics, and then I had this patient of mine that one day she said that she was a part of a group that they were playing volleyball, beach volleyball, baseball, and those kind of things. And then I said, wow, that's awesome,
It's happening in Regina, yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh. We have a lot of beaches here. But anyway, so then I said, that was awesome. So I joined the group, and the group was called Contemporary Singles.
Oh. Contemporary singles.
Yeah, so we were all singles at the time. At the same time. Okay. It was a very interesting group, actually. I honestly, I really enjoyed it. I think I was the only foreigner there. Everybody was from here, and no accent except me, with an accent, a weird name at the time, and then good looking.
And a weird nose, yes. So you really stood out from the crowd, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I want to say that, to be honest, during that time, I never ever felt that I was discriminated or racism. I really didn't feel it. Maybe I was oblivious to it. I don't know. But I never felt that. But at the same time, for example, sometimes I felt that I'm not fitting in. And then, why don't I fit in? Of course, then afterwards, I realized I didn't fit in, not for the fact that I was a foreigner or something, or they were discriminative. It had nothing to do with that. It had more to do with the fact that I didn't speak English as good as I do now. Then,
okay, moving on.
And then I didn't share the same history. I was new, obviously, at that time. And then, for example, if they said a joke, that there was a history to it.
You missed it, yeah. You just didn't know of it.
And if I said a joke, they wouldn't get it. Then I had to explain the whole history of it. Then by that time, it's not a joke anymore. And then, of course, some language barrier. And the most important part was personality and cultural differences. That was the most important part. Of course, these things were the thing that I realized years after. That why didn't I fit in? And then, of course, that I'm saying, don't take me wrong. There were some that they were very actually friendly, and they were more helpful, and actually they would do their best,
right?
To to accept me.
Like, and take you in and kind of.
Oh, for
just-
sure,
yeah.
for sure. But
Show you the ropes and.
Good. But for the most part, that was not the case. And, let's be real, not everybody can, go out of their way. So, but anyway, so this went on. And then, although it was very good, for example, now to cover some, one of the guys that was there, he was more of a kind of a redneck. A very good guy.
Okay.
Let's call him George.
Bella Bob.
I don't know if you have watched this Jeff Foxworthy. He's a comedian. You might be a redneck.
I've not.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah. If you haven't watched that, you can watch it on YouTube. You might be a redneck. And then he had, I think he qualified for most of those. When you go to a family reunion for dating somebody. Hey, we do that in Iran, and it's a normal thing.
It's accepted.
But
Okay.
anyway, for example, he was very competitive and more of a redneck style. So sometimes with him, we had a bit of a competition too. And I was very competitive, obviously. And then at the same time, now this that I'm saying, the same, let's say, George, one day we had gone to a bar and then as a group and we had rented a room. And then when I was not in the room, I came out. Let's say George noticed that he felt that somebody picked on me. He was almost about to beat the shit out of the guy. Because although when we were in the group, he was competitive and I was the opposite side, because now as a group we have gone there, the other guy is the outsider and he was very protective.
Oh. So now all of a sudden, because you're now in the group and part of the group, but you're in another different setting,
Correct.
you've become part of them.
That's correct.
Yes. Okay.
And actually, this is normally I say that in the, even presidents, what they do to bring the country together and to increase their chances of re-election, they cause a war.
Because then you stand together.
Because you stand together, then you don't want change. Yes, and this is historically, it is true. And then, so the thing that he did, of course, this was not planned from my end to get picked on by
But
somebody.
you told George, knock him out when
Yeah,
I
yeah.
leave the room.
And honestly, he's a tough son of a bitch. He could beat the shit out of the guy. I just had to stop him. No. You know what? The guy is drunk. Just leave him alone. That's okay. And he had a very noble, idea and intention. Of course, the performance was not the best, but
And maybe a bit aggressive, but yeah, the intention and I mean, it's kind of standing up for you and defending you like the damsel in
and
distress.
it happened actually in later on, in some other things that if I needed him, he would be the guy to call.
Okay.
If you needed him, he
But
was
you
the
just
man.
called him a redneck.
But he was a redneck. And it does not a bad thing. I'm not saying necessarily it's a bad thing.
No,
It's just a
no.
lifestyle. It's a different way of looking, and sometimes it's more primitive, I would say.
Yep.
So, but no, he was a very, very good guy. I really liked him. But now this is where I wanted to go. In this group when I was, sometimes often, very, frequently we see people, they would say that, hey, you Iranian or you Muslims, how do you do this?
Yeah.
And then I of course, this took me years to understand what happened. I never liked it when they said that way, because you lump you in a group.
They just assume that you look like it, you speak like it, maybe you're it.
Then you're it.
Yes.
Although I didn't quack. But so let's just, first of all, and they knew that I'm not a Muslim. I don't practice Islam. I'm an atheist. They knew that. But again, my name is there. So my name, Muhammad, in case it was, then they would just lump you in the
Correct.
Islamic group.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
then-
I've experienced that myself, or seen it where somebody just asked you the one day, or not to ask you, but said,
oh, go ahead.
when I think we were having like a group dinner somewhere and you were eating pork.
Yes.
And somebody said, "Oh, I thought you're Muslim."
Yes.
And this individual knew you for years.
That's correct. We don't want to say the name. I exactly
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's exactly it, where, people just assume by your looks and your accent, and just
The point is
it's
that
just based out of that.
actually that is a specific individual. He knew that in Islam you don't date other women if they are not your wife,
Right.
and then because of that you have 72 wives. No, I'm sorry, 4 wives, so that you don't have to date them illegally. There is a solution for everything. And you're not supposed to drink, but I was doing the other 2.
Yes.
I drink.
But you were eating something that you weren't supposed to.
Yeah,
Yes.
he and he had just hadn't seen that anyway.
Right.
So it was.
But I mean, again, that maybe it's just it's the knowledge of the individual, and to some extent the closed-mindedness of
It is,
just
yeah.
people.
Correct.
I mean, they don't have the experience. I think both of us are relatively well traveled.
Mhm.
You know, we've been exposed to different places, different cultures, and we just know there's more out there.
That is correct.
And we do live in a small little place, and there's people who's been here for years and years and years and years and years. They just haven't been exposed to it, so they just don't
That is
know.
good. But at the same time, I should tell you this though. In the same group, this is the very interesting part. The same group that people they would say you people, you Iranian, you Muslims, you this,
Right.
they would lump you. There was one of the ladies. I'm gonna call her Grace.
Not Billy Bob.
No,
Okay.
no. Actually, I noticed with her. When she would ask me a question, I was more than happy to answer. I was just very comfortable.
But I mean, that's the thing. Ask
just
the
this-
question, though.
But listen
Don't
to this though.
assume.
How she said it. She would say, "You were born in Iran." She didn't say you're Iranian.
Okay.
She would ask, "How is it done in Iran?" Not how you Iranian do it. There is a difference.
There is a difference, yeah.
Because when she says how you Iranian do it, it makes it my identity.
Correct.
How do you know
She's
that I
then-
want that to be? I want to be identified as that.
Right.
But she would ask, "How is it done in Iran?" And that's a very proper question because
it's the nice way to structure that, because then she's not assuming that you're an Iranian and then the rest of it comes with that.
correct. And then
Yeah.
she allows me to, yes, I was born in Iran. Most likely, I know more than you about Iran. That's a very
fair assumption.
Yeah, that's a very proper. And she wouldn't say you Muslims. She would say, "How is it done in Islam?"
Mm-hmm.
Or were you born in a Muslim family? So the question did not, she didn't make it my identity. And she was damn right. I was born in a Muslim family. I knew about Islam more than she did because I was there. I was born in Iran, so I knew more about Iran. But she wouldn't make it my identity. Even as a physiotherapist that I'm working, she wouldn't say, "You physiotherapist, how do you do this?" She would say, "How is it done in physiotherapy?"
Yeah, yeah. She doesn't personalize it.
Very
she,
much.
She generalized the topic, yeah.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with me.
Correct.
It had to do with the
The
subject.
subject matter.
Yeah. And then, of course, it took me years before I understood, because years after, I ran into another friend who, again, she was using that language. And then she told me that she had read a book that, I don't know if it was "Don't Identify Yourself" or "Don't Make It Your Identity," something that basically it would say, don't say "I'm a runner," say "I do run."
I run, yeah.
No, don't say, "Yes, I'm, let's say," or even I'm a man. I was born a male. There is a bit of a difference between the two.
Yeah, agreed.
Not that I'm a cyclist, I do cycle. And the reason, for example, when you say that, let's say I'm Iranian, then if you come and say that, "Oh, this Iranian, they do this," then you have attacked me already.
Right. Then it's become personal.
It becomes
instantly in
personal.
the statement, yeah. Yeah.
But if you say Iranian do this, I'll say I was born there, I agree or I don't agree.
So it's more general statements and general questions versus private.
Yes.
Or personal, rather. So
That is the thing. You don't want to make it your identity. Even we do it to ourselves very frequently. But if we separate, because it's just a part of us. For me, I was born in Iran is a part of me. And I had no, say into that.
right.
And then that is different than if I say, I was born in Iran. If I was say I carry a Canadian passport, it is true. But am I Canadian? Well, by definition, yes. But I wouldn't want necessarily to be identified as such. And the reason is, again, if somebody said that Canadian do this, then hey, you're attacking me now.
Yeah.
If it is something negative, and if it's something positive, I take pride in it, which again has nothing to do with me.
Which again, it's selective. Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense, that if I haven't done anything about it, why should I take pride in it or take shame into it? It's just not my responsibility. It was just something. So anyway, I realized that she did it that way, and then because of that, I was feeling a lot more comfortable to talk to her and respond to her. And normally I say that when you speak accurately, and when you listen professionally. I will do another podcast about this later on. And basically the gist of it is this: when you speak very accurate. Don't say just don't grow. Yeah, when you make a gross,
don't group it, don't generalize it, don't.
Correct. Yeah. Because when you speak grossly, you conclude grossly too. Remember that. It just doesn't work. You don't say that my car is broken. You will say which part of the car is not working. It doesn't show a sense of maturity when we speak that way. But when I say listen professionally, I will go into these details later on. It means that now if somebody says my car is broken, then you help them to, okay, which part of it? Not the whole car.
What's the noise that it's making? Yes.
Can you make that noise? But now the funny thing is that now this is where am I going with this thing? When they did this, that for example between these two type of people, that one said that you people, the other said that you were born in Iran. The difference is showed later on. When 9/11 happened. When 9/11 happened, obviously, although I was there and they knew me, I was the same person. I hadn't changed. All of a sudden, in the eyes of majority, I became a terrorist or terrorist assistant. Yeah. No, in seriously, okay, I don't want to sensationalize it, but it went a bit to the extreme. Yes, they were looking at me differently. Even at work, I got 2 complaints against me
shortly after
9/11, just because my name was Mohammed. And
or did you deserve it?
No, to be honest,
no.
Yeah,
but I mean, it creates that awareness, and then people start grouping and assuming and making up the story in their own head that he looks like a Muslim, he speaks like a Muslim. I guess he's a Muslim, and they bombed that place.
And the Muslim should be the terrorist. Just the correlation. The correlation goes completely. It's a very. And the interesting part. Let's say the same lady, Grace. She was the only one. I mean, among the few that she had more empathy towards me.
Right.
Because she could realize that people are, lumping me into this group, although it has nothing to do with me, and because she was not seeing me as an Iranian, as a Muslim. She would allow me to decide who I am. Not, I have done this TED Talk, identity, is it inherited or created? She wouldn't blame me for inherited identity.
Right.
Nor praise me, neither. Yeah. And because of that, she was had some sort of empathy towards me. And to be honest, that is one of the very main reasons to this date, I call myself as Mo versus Mohammed. Yeah. Because it really, over time, especially because the terrorism continued, I got sick of it. That it has nothing to do with me. That even one day those days Facebook was more popular. I put that on Facebook. I said, you know what, to be honest, I'm sick of this. I want to change my name.
Stephen.
That was one of the suggestions. But no, seriously, and of course, quite a few as a joke, they said, no, you should change it to this.
Yeah.
And then, but some of the friends, they said that no, actually you should not, to make a point that not all Mohammeds, at least a small percentage of them are not terrorists. Maybe the majority are, but a small percentage.
So I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, but it's very much, or the conversation up to now has been very much with people doing it to me or people doing it to you. But how often do we do that to other people?
Oh my God. This is interesting. Actually, yes, we do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
When, for example, we lump it, and we lump it in that sense that, for example, if you say something to me about a behavior in me, then I make it big. You're talking about my whole me, and then my whole family, and whole generation, and the whole continent.
And the country, yes.
Sometimes we do that as a defense mechanism, and sometimes we do it to attack somebody.
Yeah.
And then, but these mistakes happen. Probably we do that too. But because of that, I'm hoping with this talk,
the more awareness that you create, the more you'd obviously think about it. And it's such a fine tune just of the sequence of words that can change the meaning of the question to be more appropriate and to be more correct. It's just how you say it.
That they speak accurately. Yes. Yeah. But again, at the same time, the listener, if I was mature enough, I could have helped them to mature their question. But I don't want the podcast to become too long. We are going to have a part 2 to this episode. But I wanted to say this: if you think that this concept of lumping it happened only to me, or just let's say to the Muslim, and this concept, think again. It happens to all of us. We do it all the time to each other, and that is how we make life more complicated. And we create words that they don't have to be there. We create barriers and walls that they were never there to begin with. But we will get back to that. So listen to the second episode of this second part of this episode. But in the meantime, again, don't forget, life is simple. We make it complicated. Take care.
Bye-bye.